Welcome to Political Beatdown. Ben Meiselas, Michael Cohen. Let's just get right into it, Mr. Cohen. Mr. Cohen, do you remember when Donald Trump's lawyer at this defamation trial, in this case brought by E. Jean Carroll, Alina Habba, do you remember when Alina Habba went on some random podcast and said this?
Somebody said to me, Alina, would you rather be smart or pretty? And I said, oh, easy, pretty. I can fake being smart. But,
I meet them all the time, Alina.
That's the honest truth. And it's going to make me, I'm sure there'll be some Washington Post article about it tomorrow, Daily Beast, my favorite. But listen, you have to be honest. It doesn't hurt to be good looking in this world, in the PR world, on TV. It doesn't hurt. Mm-hmm. And when you're good looking, that's great, but it can also mean people think you're stupid, or people think that President Trump hired me because I was good looking. That is absolutely not the case.
Fake being smart. I don't think she really did that, because there were multiple times during this defamation trial already where federal Judge Kaplan had to basically say, all right, we need to take a break so Ms. Habba can refresh her memory in how you do the most basic things like introduce evidence in federal court.
To lay the foundation.
You have to show the document to the witness, see if the witness recognizes the document. The document has to be pre-marked. You have to then ask to admit it once the foundation's established. Then you publish it before the jury. And there was a time when Alina Habba was cross-examining E. Jean Carroll where she turned to the judge and she said, Judge, what do I do? What am I supposed to do here? That's Donald Trump's lawyer for you. Michael Cohen, you've called this. You knew that Alina Habba was incompetent, in addition to being very dangerous, although you said she did a workmanlike job during the deposition that she took of you. Did you realize—
By the way, Ben, in all fairness, and I think we need to explain this to the brigaders, that there is a vast difference between a deposition and trial, okay? There's a lot of shit that goes at a deposition that Judge Kaplan, or any judge for that matter, would not permit. This, like I said, she has no idea what she's doing. The fact that she couldn't even lay the foundation, how to introduce evidence at trial, just goes to show the inability of the lawyers that he has surrounding him right now, or the faith in the lawyers that he has around him. And Alina Habba is she's no exception to the rule. Look, at least she's half right. She is pretty, but you could fake being smart? No. You see, that's a stupid comment. You cannot fake being smart. And today and yesterday and probably going forward, Judge Kaplan is going to have to remind you that there are things that you are doing that are improper, like how you ask a question, how you lay a foundation to introduce evidence at trial. So no, Alina Habba, you cannot fake being smart. Let me just put it to you that way.
Doesn't that kind of just sum up, though, the whole MAGA movement? Like, they think that they are faking being smart, and their base takes what they say as smart. But the silent majority of Americans are looking at the things that they're saying and saying, that's not smart. We know that y'all are just a bunch of con artists. Like, we see what you're doing, yet running that same game, the Habba game, the Trump game, the Jim Jordan game, the Matt Gaetz game, the James Comer game, that works on that 25 to 30% of the American population. But what I've been watching too, Cohen, very recently as well, is I've been seeing a bunch of Nikki Haley supporters and DeSantis supporters who were living in that kind of Trump Fox echo chamber, who are now seeing it from another perspective. And I've seen them posting on social media. I've known some of them who have been telling me where they're just like, Ben, I don't even know what's going on here. But yes, this is a cult this is a Trump MAGA cult. What is going on? I said, well, you were part of that. Can I just talk to you, Cohen, though, about just some of the specifics before we get into that of like what was going on in this trial? So we're now in day 3 of the federal trial in a defamation case brought by E. Jean Carroll against Donald Trump. E. Jean Carroll testified, gave direct examination. Then the cross-examination was taken by Alina Habba, who didn't know how to ask questions or show a witness documents and get documents admitted into evidence. Here's just some from the transcript right here. You have Alina Habba say to E. Jean Carroll, for example, yeah, we have that one. Let me pull this transcript up right here. I was going to go to another one. So in this transcript right here, you have question. Do you remember when you wrote those? Answer, yes, in 1996 on A Dog in Heat and Mr. Right now. How did those books do? Answer, both of these books are still earning royalties and they also look dated to me. Question, what is the name of the last book you wrote, Miss Carroll? Answer, What Do We Need Men For? Question, and why did you give the book that title? Answer, because for 25 years, I was writing the Ask E. Jean column, and women had been writing into me complaining about men when I knew they really loved men. So that was a confusing thing. And then Habba jumps in and goes, objection, Your Honor. Hearsay, speculation. She's talking about what women believed that wrote it to her. Court. First of all, Ms. Habba, when you speak in this courtroom or any other courtroom in this building, you will stand up. And Alina Habba goes, sure. And then the judge goes, it certainly isn't hearsay. What else did you say? And Alina Habba said, she's stating what they really felt, speculation. And then the court goes, well, that's not offered for the truth of the matter asserted, is it, Miss Kaplan, referring to E. Jean Carroll's lawyer? And then Miss Kaplan, E. Jean Carroll's lawyer, says, it is not, Judge. And the court goes, all right. The question was, why did she give the book the title? She's entitled to explain that. And Alina Habba's like, sure. So she doesn't even know the basic rules of what hearsay is, Michael Cohen. And then there's this other portion here where Alina Habba says in her cross-examination, many people called you a liar before the president made his statement. And E. Jean Carroll's lawyers say, is that even a question? She's not even asking a question, Judge. She's just testifying herself. And Alina Habba says, I wasn't finished. It says, you're a pathetic old hag. And then Judge Kaplan jumps in and says, it's not in evidence. And Alina Habba says, but I'm trying to get it into evidence. And Judge Kaplan says, no, we are not going to read out loud a document that is not yet in evidence. We're going to take a break right here to 3:30, and you're going to refresh your memory, Miss Habba, about how you get a document into court. Do you understand that? Then they go back, and then Judge Kaplan says, Miss Habba, you can't use documents that are not in evidence. And then Alina Habba goes, did you receive tweets in the 5 hours before President Trump spoke? And Alina Habba, Carroll says, I hadn't seen them. And Habba goes, were you tagged? And Judge Kaplan goes, enough. Don't get into the content. This is not evidence right now. So Cohen, just over and over again, just like the basic blocking and tackling of what happens in a federal trial.
Yeah, look, I experienced Alina Habba and her questioning judge during the New York Attorney General case before just Judge Engoron. And I will say that Engoron is a much more permissive judge than Judge Kaplan. This is exactly what she did. She doesn't ask you a question. She tells you the question and then asks you right. Well, it doesn't even say right or wrong. It's right. So you're not even sure how you're supposed to answer that question. And the truth is, Engoron, again, was and is a much more lenient, or was much more lenient with Alina Habba than clearly Judge Kaplan is. And good for him, because what she's doing goes against the entire practice of law. I mean, she has no idea, like I said before, how to introduce evidence into court. The only thing that they did right, at least with my case, is they did have evidence that was already introduced and marked as exhibits. They need to show with other documents that were not. They needed to say, do you, I'd like to provide a document to the witness. Do you know what this document is? Do you recall this document? Did you receive this document? Can you take a moment and read it just to refresh your memory? And then you could ask to have it introduced into evidence and then go off the basis of it. That's the problem, is they don't believe in what's called the four corners of the litigation. They want to go outside. With all due respect, and to the entire line of questioning, what the hell's the difference what the name of the book is? What does the naming of a book have anything to do with Donald Trump's ongoing and continuous defamatory statements against E. Jean Carroll, who he has already been found guilty by a jury of his peers to have committed? I'm just not sure where the line of questioning even goes. Where is it going?
And Cohen, I remember when you gave testimony in the civil case before Judge Engoron, and you were frustrated because I think Engoron did allow a lot, and you were objecting to things that would probably be standard objections that, like, Judge Kaplan would never allow that questioning.
Would Judge Kaplan have allowed me as the witness to object?
I remember you were just like, they were just asking questions that were just kind of very inappropriate that I had to answer, that Judge Kaplan would not have allowed those questions. It's a different style of judging, but Engoron did let a lot of information in. And also Donald Trump showed up, and this was a photo by Associated Press. So this was not some like random photo that's circulating around on social media. They took this photo of Donald Trump, and he had these strange lesions on his hands or cuts or scars. James Carville said it was something. You could read the article about Carville if you want his opinion on it, but like just kind of going out and presenting yourself with lesions on your hands like that. And there were some people said, well, maybe he went golfing the night before, but the night before he was in New Hampshire, I guess, further defaming E. Jean Carroll and giving unhinged speeches. So he didn't play golf that day. So something happened where he woke up and developed what appeared to be lesions or cuts on his hands. I mean, it's just fairly gross. And Drudge ran a whole story about it, saying like, what is this on his hands? But anyway, could you imagine if President Biden walked around like that with, I mean,
again,
put a whatever it is, put a bandage.
No. And my question really to you, Ben, and to the Brigaders is, why is it that everything that Donald Trump does wrong, or everything that is inappropriate or unhealthy as to Donald Trump, why is it that the next question that the GOP, the Republicans, that right-wing media, and even some of the centrist media, why are they asking, well, what if Joe Biden had walked out with lesions on his hands? There's some saying that it's secondary syphilis. I mean, I have no idea. All right. Certainly you'll know if you see it on the side of Alina Habba's head. But, let me be very clear about this. I have no idea what it is, and I don't want to speculate or anything. But why is it that we have to then transfer it to what if it was Joe Biden? It's not Joe Biden. So why speculate? It doesn't make a difference what you think that the reaction would be if Joe Biden had it. It doesn't make a difference what I think if Joe Biden had it and presented himself before a crowd. It doesn't make a difference what the New York Times, the Associated Press, or the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, or whoever. It doesn't make a difference what they think. They're there to sell their newspapers. It doesn't make a difference what mainstream media, liberal or not, has to say about it. It doesn't relate, and it doesn't right now affect Joe Biden. So why throw him into the mix? I just don't get it. Let's find out first what it is.
I just think that's the frustration, which is the media will allow Donald Trump to present himself both physically and in his speech as someone who is both unhinged and very much cognitively in decline. And we're going to show some clips in just a little bit, which show that, like, what is he even like talking about, like in New Hampshire? And the point is that this needs serious attention because this is the leader of the modern day Republican Party that is MAGA. And so immediately after the defamation trial day concluded, Donald Trump drove down the block, gave a press conference somewhere in New York City.
40 Wall at his property.
Was it 40 Wall Street? And then he immediately started defaming E. Jean Carroll again, his rape victim. He's already been determined by a jury in May to have raped E. Jean Carroll. Then he goes after the trial in a new defamation trial where he was just sitting there, and he goes to attack the judge, to attack E. Jean Carroll. And here's what he said. Let's play the first clip there, Salty.
I'll be leaving for New Hampshire, in other words, right after this. And then as to the trial today, it was a very interesting day. As you probably noticed, it's a big story that the witness today, a person I never knew, I never had anything to do with. It's a totally rigged deal. This whole thing is rigged, election interference. But this is a person I have no idea, until this happened, obviously, I have no idea who she was, and nor could I care less. It's a rigged deal. It's a made-up, fabricated story. Well, they found out today that she got rid of a lot of evidence, as you probably noticed. She got rid of massive amounts of evidence. And in addition to that, she had a rifle or a gun, because she said she bought gun bullets or rifle bullets, and it was the opposite, I guess, of her gun. And was it licensed? No, it wasn't licensed. So I guess she's got a difficult problem. That's going to be her problem. But she has a gun or a rifle. She didn't really explain which. She might have both, because she said she bought rifle bullets. So and it's totally unlicensed. So I assume that's a problem. But the judge was protecting her. He didn't want to go there. We don't want to go there. We don't want to. If that were me, it would be a different story. But with her, the judge is totally protective of them. And frankly, anybody in that court would see it. Frankly, it's a disgrace. That's probably one of the reasons our country is going to hell.
One of the reasons our country's going to hell is because Donald Trump raped somebody and is now sitting in a trial. And by the way, the things that Donald Trump talked about that went down had no relevance at all to the case.
Yeah,
they were not big stories. They had nothing to do with anything. Yeah. And the judge said that's just completely and utterly irrelevant. Like, move on to topics about the damages in this case.
Yeah. I mean, that's what this case is. This case is a case on damages. We already know the first go around cost him $5 million. Within 24 hours, the orange-crusted Mandarin Mussolini, Donald von Schitzenpants, goes on CNN with Caitlin Collins, and he says and does the same thing again to E. Jean Carroll, which is the predicate for what this case is all about. While this is still going on, what ends up happening? He does it again after day 2 of trial. Now, I want to just spend a second, Ben, and I want us to talk about what is it that Trump is saying here when he's talking about rifles and guns and bullets. What the hell is he even talking about? The case goes right back to Alina Habba. The case has 4 corners to it. And the goal of every attorney is to stay within those 4 corners of whether it's the complaint or the litigation, in order to prove their client's case. Now, this one, it would be obviously a diminution of damages to E. Jean Carroll, because that's all that this case is about. Not about liability. It's purely a case on damages. How much should the court ask, or how much is E. Jean Carroll going to ask for, and the jury awarding this time for the same defamation that was done the first time? So instead of talking about things like today, they had a witness on the stand who is a professional in reputational rehabilitation. They said somewhere between, I think it was $8 to $12 million. Now, most people would say, wow, that's a huge amount of money. Now, let me say, as somebody who has been attacked by Donald Trump and his sycophantic maggot supporters as well as other members of Congress who are part of that sycophantic MAGA support class, it is extremely, extremely difficult to do. And the more difficult it is, the more expensive it becomes. So I don't think that the range is astronomical. Mind you, this case should also contain punitive damages, because that's about the only way you're going to get somebody who is a narcissistic sociopath like Donald to stop defaming her. That's what he should have done, is bringing in witnesses and experts and questions that relate to how much it's going to cost him round 2. But that's not what they want to do. It's all about appealing to the base, making Donald Trump the victim. Here we go again. It's a deranged judge. It's a Democrat judge. It's a Trump-hating judge. It's the same shit, just thrown right back into the blender. And he's serving it to his MAGA supporters that are globbing this stuff up, despite the fact it is all lies. It's just what he does, and he says it again and again and again. So why he's talking about guns, what he wants is he's trying to send a message to, whether it's the Southern District or to any of his supporters that might be in a position, hey, you should be looking into E. Jean Carroll's possession of a firearm, which of course in New York carries a minimum mandatory, and I believe that's under the Getz law, the Bernie Getz law. There's a minimum mandatory. So he wants to inflict pain on her simply because she's calling him out on something that he has done in the past and that she's already been successful in court on. So he wants to inflict any type of damage on her that he can. Not normal. Just not normal.
The fact that Alina Habba's cross-examination was asking E. Jean Carroll, as a result of the fear that you now feel because of Donald Trump's defamatory statements, did you ever need a gun? That was the question. And E. Jean Carroll said yes. So the next question was, and was that gun licensed? And E. Jean Carroll said, yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. And then Alina Habba said, don't you know that you need a license for that? And then it was objection. What does this have to do with anything? And then Judge Kaplan said, yeah, we're not going there. That has nothing to do with this case where you further defamed your rape victim. What are you talking about?
Ben, this is one of the issues. Yeah, but this is also one of the issues that I had with the prosecutors at the New York Attorney General during that trial. They were very permissive to not object to some of the lines of questioning that Alina Habba did. So I did it myself. But there were things in there that were completely inappropriate, that had no relevance to the case at all. And in all fairness, it should have been denied, and that her line of questioning should have been, denied. But like I said, Judge Engoron was gave her an extreme amount of latitude in terms of the thing that, the questions that she was asking. So I don't blame him. I understand why he did it. I didn't appreciate it because it was towards me, and it was, I had to defend myself. I would have expected the prosecutors in that case to do it. And on top of that, we also tried to introduce certain evidence, which was my pre-sentencing report, that corroborates the statements that I was making in court that, again, had nothing to do with this case at all, but it corroborated my earlier statements and my continuous statement that there was no tax evasion and that there was no misrepresentation to a bank pursuant to a HELOC loan. And we tried to get the PSR in, and the judge denied that request, saying it's just not really relevant. And he's right. But what that gave Trump the ability to do, and Alina Habba standing by his side gloating about it, is to jump out into the media outside the courtroom doors and proclaim victory. Yeah, he just recanted everything that he had said before, and he acknowledged that he lied and so on. This is what Donald does. He alters the truth because reality does not exist for Donald Trump. And what he's done is whatever the infection is on his hand, he has passed that infection on to others like Alina Habba, who goes before the cameras outside the courthouse and says disparaging things about the judge, about the law clerk, about me, about the prosecutors, about the information, the documentation, whatever. This is what they do. And this is what, brigaders, we have to stop. This is what we cannot allow to occur in 2024. We have to hold him and all those around him accountable for their dirty deeds, plain and simple.
I want to show you when we come back, Donald Trump also saying that he was the one who suffered damages at this current trial and he should be awarded money from E. Jean Carroll. Then he went to New Hampshire and started talking about his own cognitive condition. It got really weird in New Hampshire. I also want to contrast that to what President Biden has been saying and what some of these Democrats in the House of Representatives have been saying, really good messengers like Democratic Congressmember Jared Moskowitz going on the offense, Jamie Raskin, Jasmine Crockett, AOC, and others. So I want to show some of those clips as well. I want to remind everybody to hit subscribe on our YouTube channel. We are almost at 2 million subscribers here on the Midas Touch Network. And also, if you want to help grow this independent media platform and the show, we don't have outside investors, so check out patreon.com/political beatdown. Cohen, the show's only just getting started. We've got a lot more to talk about, but let's take our first quick break.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. My friends, around New Year's, we get obsessed with how to change ourselves instead of just expanding on what we already are doing right. Maybe, just maybe, you finally organized one part of your space and you want to tackle another. Or maybe you're taking your supplements every morning and now you want to actually eat breakfast too. I mean, therapy helps you find your strengths so you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make the changes that really stick. I personally benefited from therapy myself. You see, therapy is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't for those of us who've experienced major trauma like I have. It's for everyone because what you're going through matters. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. So just fill out the brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So celebrate the progress that you've already made and visit betterhelp.com/beatdown today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/beatdown.
Ben Meiselas here. Did you know that your temperature at night can have one of the greatest impacts on your sleep quality? If you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Inspired by NASA, Miracle Made uses silver-infused fabrics and makes temperature-regulating bedding so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. Using silver-infused fabrics originally inspired by NASA, Miracle Made sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long, so you get better sleep every night. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. And get this, Miracle sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands and feel as nice, if not nicer, than bed sheets used by some 5-star hotels. Stop sleeping on bacteria. Bacteria can clog your pores, causing breakouts and acne. Sleep clean with Miracle. Go to trymiracle.com/beat to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo BEAT at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/beat and use the code BEAT to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40%. Again, that's trymiracle.com/beat to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode.
Welcome back. Political Beatdown, Michael Cohen. I'm Ben Meiselas. Cohen, I just can't normalize this behavior that after a defamation trial in federal court where Donald Trump has already been found liable in a prior trial for rape, and the victim is now bringing another defamation case against Donald Trump for more defamatory statements. Donald Trump leaves the court. By the way, he apparently rushed out while the jury was still there, which is so disrespectful to the jury before they even left. He kind of like went past them. And then he gave this press conference at 40 Wall Street. And his analysis was that he was the one who suffered damages. Here's Donald Trump just asking for money, basically, after leaving a trial where he defamed his rape victim as already adjudicated by a court and a jury. Here, play this clip.
So the big take today was that she deleted and destroyed massive amounts of evidence, and we think that both trials should be thrown out because it's ridiculous. They should be thrown out, and I frankly am the one that suffered damages. I should be given money, given damages, and that's where that is. And with that being said, I'm heading out to New Hampshire. Thank you very much for being back there.
So a rapist right there, someone who's been determined by a jury to have raped E. Jean Carroll, is whining and saying he should be the one who gets damages. He's the one who's suffered. Cohen.
What's there possibly to say? It's as ludicrous and ridiculous as he is. And what bothers me the most, and it's something that I wish would stop now, I wish that the mainstream media would stop promoting him. Who gives a shit about what Alina Habba has to say? Who gives a shit what Donald Trump has to say at 40 Wall Street? Why is he rolling up to the courthouse, again, like a rock star with a 16-person brigade, a motorcade? This is ridiculous. As you just said, he is a defendant in a defamation case where he raped someone. Why are we promoting him? Because when you promote him the way that they're doing, you're sort of invalidating what E. Jean Carroll has gone through. You're invalidating what the Department of Justice, what the justice system is trying to do, and that is to hold somebody accountable for their actions. He's already been held accountable the first time, and so because he doesn't believe in accountability, he goes ahead and he says it and he does it again. And so he is now being brought before the court again for defamation on par with what he did the first time. But yet the coverage of him, the rolling out of Trump Tower, with the police sirens going, the closures of the streets, the inconvenience to the city residents, the fact he rolls in there, they're all waiting for him. They got the media sitting there in order to ask him questions. Mr. Trump, Mr. President, blah, blah, blah. What's your position here? Oh, well, don't worry. We'll be giving a statement on the way out. Why? Who else would receive this sort of attention? It's all about clickbait. It's all about getting people to stay tuned to the station. Are we really that pathetic as a country? Are we really that sort of lonely that we've turned this entire country into like a Housewives, episode that, it's the the nastiness, the bitterness, the yelling, the arguments, that this is all that we have to talk about in the news. You have migrants that are flooding the country, that there is no set standard right now because Congress can't get their shit together. And you have, like, for example, Texas putting migrants on planes and buses and sending them to other states without the other state even knowing, right? You have, Ukraine in desperate need of help from the United States and from our allies to protect their democracy against a dictator. You have Israel and Hamas, you have that war still going on. But the best that we can do is spend hours following this fucking loser around and making him seem like a rock star, making him seem bigger than life. This is not right. And this bullshit has to stop.
Let me show you right now what President Biden had to say. And then I want to show you some of these Democratic members in the House of Representatives whose messaging is on point, going on the offense. But first, let me show you. Here's what President Biden had to say, mocking Donald Trump. Here, play this clip.
Shrank public investment in education, infrastructure and education, have hollowed out communities, closing factories, leaving too many behind. And now, my predecessors like to say, America is a failing nation. In my face, bless me, Father, for his sin. I mean, come on. A failing nation. And by the way, did you hear he wants to see the stock market crash? Because he does not want it now. We're doing well. He acknowledging by that we're doing pretty damn well economically and getting better. He wants to see the stock market crash. You know why? He doesn't want to be the next Herbert Hoover. As I told him, he's already Hoover. He's the only president to be president for 4 years and lose jobs, not gain any jobs. Come on, man. Some of the things he said, well, I don't get started. But look, frankly, to put it very politely, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Doesn't know what he's talking about. And I want to show you as well what Democrats...
How come Biden doesn't do more, statements like that? Why is he not in the Oval Office, at the Lincoln desk, talking about all of the positive things that are right now happening in America, all of the things that we need, that he's not successful on, not because they're not worthy, but because you have Republicans who will block anything and everything that he is attempting to do because it would be perceived as a win. And for the next 10 plus months, all they want is to see everything crash and burn, from the country all the way to, to the world, so that they could then have Donald Trump become the next president. I mean, he needs to get this message out more and more. He needs to show that he's not a ghost of a president, but that he's there. He's working hard. But unfortunately, the way our system is designed, something Trump, of course, and said it himself, something he wants to change. One of the things that he needs bipartisanship. And he invited the other day, Ben, he invited 4 leaders from both parties to sit to talk about, the upcoming debt ceiling issue. And Republicans don't want to even, have that pass. They'd rather see, Americans, Republican, Democrat, Independent, not get paid simply so that they could declare for themselves a win. Just like he said, Trump wants to see the stock market crash so that it'll be perceived that Biden is weak on the economy. I mean, this is insane when you're fighting your own citizen in order to do right by the country. And they know that what he's asking them to do is right for the country.
The debt ceiling was the previous contrived, fabricated controversy where MAGA Republicans tried to tank the economy. Now we're talking about funding our government through the budgetary process. And there's a continuing resolution that's being discussed right now because MAGA Republicans have been playing games. But, MAGA Republicans claim that they wanted to address the border. So to your point, Michael Cohen, President Biden brought in Mitch McConnell, Mike Johnson, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, and said, I'm open to that. Like, let's do a deal. And in the Senate, I mean, to give Republicans some credit, working on a bipartisan basis with Democrats being led by Chuck Schumer to come up with a border deal with compromises, because that's what has to happen in government, but coming up with a bipartisan border deal. And they're doing it. They've done it. But then in the House of Representatives, Mike Johnson and the MAGA Republicans say, unless it's a Trump plan, it's dead on arrival. And Donald Trump has posted messages this morning saying that do not do a deal on the border and that MAGA Mike Johnson will not be doing a deal on the border. There it is right there in Donald Trump's own words. I do not think we should do a border deal at all unless we get, then he puts in caps, everything needed to shut down the invasion. And there he's talking about family separations, mass deportations, like basically camps, like concentration style camps. Like that's the type of stuff that they want to, that the MAGA Republicans want to do in their bill. But Democrats and Republicans in the Senate coming with common sense solutions here. But again, Donald Trump's ordering them, don't do it. You see in this message, Mike saying, pull it up one more time, Salty, there, where it talks about how, and I've told Mike Johnson that he's only going to make the deal if it's perfect on the border, meaning it has to come from Donald Trump. And that's just very unfortunate, would be putting as an understatement right there. But like, we need to have common sense solutions to problems. But Cohen, I think voters, especially as it's now 2024, are getting this. As I told you at the outset, I've seen more DeSantis voters and Nikki Haley voters saying, no way will I vote for Donald Trump. No way. I'll show you this example right here. This is a Nikki Haley voter who was interviewed. And I've done a whole series on people like this. But Salty, if we have it, let's play this clip of this Nikki Haley voter. Play it.
Republican, right? I am. What do you do in that event if he is the nominee and it's he and Joe Biden? What do you do? I vote for Joe Biden.
Because I vote for Joe Biden. There's a lot of that that's continuing to grow. And Cohen, you're saying, why isn't Biden out there more now? I think he realizes that these races, because he's been doing it for a long time, are about momentum. And when you need to get hot, you don't want to just kind of do everything all at once. You want to build momentum, build coalitions. He's already been out there now far more than he has in the past. But he's doing it in an organized way. I mean, his surrogates are pretty impressive. I mean, Illinois Governor Pritzker, who we talked about on the last show. You got Governor Walz of Minnesota. You've got Mr. Landrieu, who's the co-chair. You got a bunch of people who are out there now kind of starting to talk about the message, but they're definitely ramping up. And then you've got these Democrats in the House. I want to show you this one, Cohen.
Yeah, but Ben, before we go to nothing says I am here to benefit America, to help America, to institute new policies, rules, etc., than the president himself saying it. I could say it, you could say it, we could yell from the rooftops, we could yell from the top of Mount Olympus. It doesn't matter. Nothing is going to reach the American people like the words coming out of Joe Biden's mouth.
I agree with that. I also want to see President Biden out there more. Every time he gives a speech, I think lots of people say, wait a minute, he's pretty good. And people start reflecting on where we are right now with the economy versus where we were and how President Biden's initiatives have helped got us there. Let me show you this one right here. This is Democratic Congressmember Jared Moskowitz, again, talking about how Democrats are trying to come up with solutions on the border, but MAGA Republicans, they want to live in their fantasy world and act like there wasn't even a world that existed before President Biden and that everything was just totally peaches and cream before. Here, play this clip.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, we have failed to pass comprehensive immigration reform up here for decades. But if you listen to the witnesses, some of them, and if you listen to my colleagues, you would think the world didn't begin until President Biden was elected. You would think it was dinosaurs, the wheel, Jesus, the world was flat, the world was round, Biden was elected, every problem. Like nothing happened before. You know, people pretend like everything was just perfect. But you know what? One of my colleagues, when bringing up statistics, showed why this is a farce. She brought up that President Obama deported more people than President Trump. In fact, President Obama deported more people in each term than President Trump. Well, hold on a second. If the border wasn't a problem until President Biden was elected, then how were we deporting all of these people in administrations before Trump was elected? It's because this situation has been going on for decades. So stop lying to the American people that none of this happened until President Biden was elected. Yes.
Michael Cohen, I want to get your response to that. I also want to show you what Jasmine Crockett, Congressmember Jasmine Crockett, had to say. We'll talk about that, but let's take our last quick break of the show. Are you self-conscious about your smile due to stains? Are your teeth aging you? Popular food and drinks are known to stain teeth. Beverages like coffee, tea, and wine stain them over time. So what can you do to brighten your smile? Well, you should give Smile Actives a try. Smile Actives is safe, effective, easy to use, and will keep you smiling proudly. As you probably already know, I'm a big tea drinker like many people. You may be a coffee drinker, and over time I noticed my teeth lose some of their brightness that I was used to seeing. 97% of Smile Actives users in a clinical trial reported up to 6 shades whiter on average, all within 30 days. Simply add Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel to your regular toothpaste. It's been formulated with polyclean technology to boost stain removal and deliver active whitening ingredients into the teeth's grooves and crannies to get better whitening. Smile Actives makes teeth whitening gel that can simply be added to your toothpaste every time you brush your teeth. So no change in your routine, no extra time, and no more messy strips, trays, or lights. People will start commenting on your whiter, brighter smile in just days. Smile Actives is the whitening boost your favorite toothpaste needs to give you the smile you deserve. Here's what you got to do. Visit smileactives.com/beat today to receive a special buy one, get one free offer with auto delivery plus free shipping and handling. That's smileactives.com/beat. SMILEACTIVES.com/beat, BEAT. Terms and conditions apply. See the site for details. Thank you to our pro-democracy sponsors right there. The discount codes are in the descriptions of this show. Michael Cohen, so what did you make of Congressmember Moskowitz right there?
Look, Jared Moskowitz is a beast. I mean, hard to imagine that Congress existed without people like him or Jamie Raskin or Congressman Steve Cohen or Dan Goldman. These folks are out there. And what are they really asking? They're asking for other members of Congress to stop lying to the American people. Stop creating this misinformation, disinformation, malinformation to the American people. It's so simple. Tell the truth. And the truth is that the border is a problem, but it is not being neglected, that we don't have an invasion. Look at the words that Trump uses. Yes, immigration has been a problem for the last 60 years. Why all of a sudden it's Joe Biden's fault? Sure, he's president, and so they should be doing things. And I agree, they need to be doing things, but they are. But you know what else that they need? They need bipartisanship in order to make this thing stick and work. But that's not what they want to use it for. They want to use it for their base of supporters. Trump wants to literally, what does he say? Again, on day number 1, the first thing he's doing, he's going to do the greatest and the most significant roundup of migrants and and illegals. I'd like to know who it is that's going to make that determination. But he wants to have the most massive roundup in the history of this country. Could you imagine if the way that they handle this is the way that they handled COVID? Could you imagine? You're not going to have 5,000 children separated from their parents, or some still separated. You're going to have tens of thousands. But he doesn't give a fuck. Why can't people understand that? He doesn't give a fuck if these people ever see their kids again. I mean, the fact that they allowed that the Texas governor, who's a big sycophantic supporter of Trump, allowed a migrant woman and 2 children to die drowned in the Rio Grande. No, this is not acceptable from the United States of America. We are better. We are better than this.
I want to show you this next clip from Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. She's a superstar here. Play this clip.
That she is.
Clear President Biden has tried to give state and local governments and nonprofits federal resources to support temporary food, shelter, and other services. But MAGA House Republicans are refusing to give those cities and states those resources. President Biden has tried to put 1,300 more Border Patrol agents at the border to help, but Republicans have obstructed that request. Republicans want to cut the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. President Biden has tried to give our border agents 100 new cutting-edge inspection devices and add 1,000 additional law enforcement personnel. Republicans obstructed that request. Honestly, I can't tell if y'all are for anything other than obstruction and cruelty. Just take a look at my governor last week. He said, and I quote, "The only thing we're not doing is we're not shooting people who come across the border because, of course, the Biden administration would charge us with murder." I know Governor Abbott doesn't understand the law, but let me say this, that absolutely would be murder. And with that.
And compare Congresswoman Crockett there with a MAGA Republican. This is what Matt Gaetz had to say in the past 24 hours.
Love Crockett.
What I can tell you is, like, for every Karen we lose, there's a Julio and a Jamal ready to sign up for the MAGA movement, and that bodes well for our ability to be more diverse and to be more durable as we head into.
That was Matt.
What the hell is he talking about?
Matt Gaetz is saying that he's okay if women are leaving the Republican Party, and he refers to all women as Karens. And then in a very racist way, he then, says a Jamal and a Juan or a Julio will join the MAGA Republican Party. I mean, what a horrific thing to say.
What a way to ingratiate yourself into the Hispanic and Black community, right? The Julios and the Jamals. I mean, come on, man. Why don't you just say as the Shlomos, and the Marys will? I mean, it is so racist to the core, but they don't give a shit, Ben. That's the difference. They actually fundraise off of this, and they think this is funny, and they think it's funny because they're getting away with it. We have to put a stop to it.
This is what Donald Trump posted. He posted at 1 a.m. a message about E. Jean Carroll. I won't need to read that one. But then he posted today the following. A president of the United States must have full immunity. Let me just pause there so our viewers at least can just look at this message. And Michael Cohen, if you knew someone who was writing like this, just the way it looks about any topic, gardening, cooking, fantasy football, who just wrote like this, setting aside the actual content of it, wouldn't you just be like, whoa, like, if I started writing to you a text message, Cohen, that looked like this, you'd probably go to me, hey, Ben, like, are you okay? Like
yes, but Ben, down. One line here that infuriated me the most was even events that cross the line must fall under total immunity. Look, as you know,
Cohen, let me just read the full message and then have you come back. I just wanted to focus there just on like how it like visually looked like. That's how like madmen actually write. And here's what it says, though. Let me just read the full thing. A president of the United States must have full immunity, without which it would be impossible for him or her to properly function. Any mistake, even if well-intended, could be met with almost certain indictment by the opposing party at term end. Even events that, quote, cross the line must fall under total immunity, or it will be years of trauma trying to determine good from bad. He's saying even if you cross the line, break the law, order SEAL Team 6 to kill your political opponent, it would cause Trump trauma if he was criminally prosecuted for violating our Constitution.
Yeah. You know, as you know, I have that lawsuit, which was filed, Michael Cohen versus United States of America. And as a result of the overturning of the Dobbs decision, the same decision that overturned Roe, it also affected the Bivens case. We've talked about this several times on this show. I talk about it a lot on Mea Culpa as well. That case then went to the Second Circuit, and the 3-panel judge turned around and agreed with the lower court that the Dobbs decision, which overturned Bivens, it is not for them to decide, that it's for Congress to decide. Well, this case is going to go to the Supreme Court of the United States because this is exactly what Donald Trump is talking about. Nothing that Donald Trump is threatening to do, or I should say, warning that he is going to do, he has not already done. He's done it to me. An unconstitutional remand back to prison because I refuse to waive my First Amendment constitutional rights. Donald Trump wants total immunity. Technically, in his mind, what that means, freedom to do whatever he wants without repercussion. And sadly, that's what's happening so far. The fact that the courts refuse to hold him accountable. When I say that, I'm talking about in my case where Judge Hellerstein determined it was retaliation. This cannot go because, as I've said 100 times, look, it's already happened to me. My goal in speaking out, my goal in building with you this community, Ben and brigaders, all right, of the Political Beatdown Brigade, this community, is to ensure that if, God forbid, Trump or anybody like a Trump should ever get back into power, that nothing like this can ever happen again to any other American. Okay? That's the whole point here. And the fact that so many people are just shutting their eyes to it because every day Captain Chaos comes out with more shit that ends up sending the media off to the left or to the right or north or south. It's no good. We have to finish with at least this one topic. And, you know, if it's not going to get done, I'm telling you, this entire election is predicated in the fight between democracy versus autocracy. So the question, brigaders, what do we want? Clearly, we all want democracy, but that's not what the other side wants. And that's why we have to fight like hell. We have to ensure that we're fully registered to vote, and so is everyone around us, neighbors, friends, family, spouses, children, makes no difference, and make sure that these people get to the ballot box. We cannot allow something like what just happened in Iowa to happen on a nationwide schedule. Let me be clear about this. Trump only won the Iowa caucus with 56,000 votes. If I end up running for Congress here in the 12th district in Manhattan, I need about 150,000 votes, 3 times what he got. But this asshole wins the Iowa caucus with 56,000 when you have about 2.6 million registered voters? Come on. This is ridiculous. No lack of energy can be permitted in a general election. And we need to ensure that we are out there promoting the Democratic agenda and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Which is a pro-democracy agenda. It's democracy over dictatorship and normalcy over chaos. And to me, that doesn't just mean Democrats or liberals or progressives. It means independents. It means real conservatives. It means mainstream Republicans who are not MAGA. MAGA is a mutation of the Republican Party that's now taken over the Republican Party, but it is so critical that we are inclusive and we build this pro-democracy community because our entire Constitution is on the line. Our country is on the line in this election. Just moments ago, E. Jean Carroll left the federal courthouse. There will be no trial on Friday. There she is right there with her lawyer, Roberta Kaplan. Another powerful day in court for E. Jean Carroll, a very bad day in court for Donald Trump and his lawyer, Alina Habba, who was admonished multiple times again. So there will be no trial on Friday. Then we go to Monday. We'll see if Donald Trump testifies in court on Monday. I think we'll have a verdict on Tuesday, which is Political Beatdown. We were there at the last verdict back in May, Michael Cohen. We announced it live on air when it came down. So we'll see if that happens again on Tuesday. That's when I would probably expect a verdict to hit. Want to remind everybody about our Patreon. We're about to do our after show. We do exclusive podcasts that we do right after this show, our after show, patreon.com/political beatdown. We don't have outside investors here at the Midas Touch Network or Political Beatdown, so we try to have fun ways to build this platform. One of those is patreon.com/political beatdown. And next week, we will be having our live meeting with our patron members. We'll be announcing that day tomorrow when it will be taking place. So make sure you're signed up. If you ever wanted to meet Michael Cohen or me, you should join patreon.com/political beatdown. All right, let's record that after show.
Yeah,
Michael
but before
Cohen.
we do that, hold on. Nobody got the 2 finger salute so far today. And I have a little message on top of that. So I've been thinking this entire time, who deserves the 2 finger salute? And I'll tell you, obviously, it's always Donald because of the chaos he's sowing in and the divisiveness and the racism, the sexism, and so on that he is, sowing in this country. But I think it has to be more than Donald. And it really, like last time, I gave it to the entire GOP that is supporting him. But I think we have to expand on it this week, at least today, to all of those maggot motherfuckers out there who think that this is funny, that this is a game, that democracy doesn't mean anything, not just here in America, but around the world. So to you idiots, the fucking 3 brain cells and 4 teeth, fuck you, all right? This country was not built on the brains of people like you. It was built on the brains of people like Crockett, like Raskin, like Moskowitz, and so many others. You are what's driving this country down into the ground. Your stupidity, the fact that you could fall for this huckster, this wannabe cult leader. It is embarrassing. It's embarrassing to this country. It's embarrassing to humanity. And fuck you all for just allowing it. The fact that we're even having a conversation right now here today in 2024, a conversation about whether or not democracy in America is going to survive? What? So listen, everybody as well, I'm asking each and every one of you to do me a big favor. Please, wherever you listen to podcasts, and if you don't, I suggest that you do, please go to wherever you listen to your podcasts, look for the Mea Culpa podcast with the blue icon background now on the Midas Touch Network. So we move the RSS feed to my pals over here. Please go there, subscribe. And after you subscribe, I want you to listen. Listen to the hour-long conversation, rate it, and then share it with your friends. Do the same with the other Midas Touch podcasts that are out there. The Meiselas brothers, Legal AF, and so on. They are all extremely relevant. They are all on point with what it is that we as a community are trying so hard to get out there. So again, please go to wherever you listen to your podcast, subscribe, the Mea Culpa podcast and all the podcasts on this network, the Midas Touch Network. It helps us. It helps to promote the conversation that we're having here today. And with that, I thank each and every one of you.
We have a new breaking news story at MidasTouch.com posted just moments ago. Breaking: the House of Representatives has passed the continuing resolution, which is delaying the government shutdown now until March. Republicans and Democrats came together to resist the MAGA Freedom Caucus opposition to keep the government open. The House just passed this continuing resolution moments ago. 314 to 108, with the MAGA members voting against the measure, now calling for MAGA Mike Johnson to resign and saying that they are thinking about trying to remove MAGA Mike Johnson. But the continuing resolution has passed.
Good.
That's good news that the government will stay funded at least through March. So I want to give everybody that good news at the end of the show. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 2 million subscribers here on the Midas Touch YouTube channel. It is free to subscribe. Now, Cohen, let's go do that after show. Shout out to the Midas Mighty.